You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
And now your host of California MUFON Radio, Lorien Fenton.
Welcome, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton. We're here on Inception Radio Network, the home of the most amazing app in the whole world, of course. And I just want to let everybody know that I've got two guests for you tonight. Mark Schwartz is going to be on with me in a few minutes, and he is the founder. And I just call him the founder, the big cheese, and the head guy over there at truthfunders.com, and I want you all to check that out as soon as possible, and maybe we'll kind of go through the list while you're looking at all the fun things that you're going to be able to donate to. And before we get to that, though, you guys, I hope you had a great holiday season. I had just so many bizarre things happen to me this holiday that I don't even know where to start, so I'm just going to leave it at that and just continue on with the force here. So there's so many things I got to talk about. Okay, first off, I'm going to be speaking at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles, California on, what is it? It is February 8th. February 8th, that's a Sunday at 5 p.m., and I hope you guys can make it, and I'd love to meet you. That's, one of the reasons that I'm starting to speak more is because I'm trying to connect with the people out there that are experiencers that want to come on my radio show, that maybe are a little scared, and you guys want to meet me and kind of get to know me, and then I'll, get you on the show. It's not that difficult, but, I understand why a lot of people are very hesitant about getting on a radio show and talking about their experiences. So I just want you all to know that I'm there. You can come find me at these different events that I'm speaking at here on the West Coast. And I'll be speaking in Tucson, Arizona in April. And I'm not sure where else. Oh, you can always meet me at UFOCon 2015 on March 28th and 29th in Santa Clara, California. I hope you guys are all, if you live on the West Coast, I really hope you're going to make it over to UFOCon. It's going to be fabulous this year. Absolutely fabulous. I've got so many cool people coming, and a lot of them have been on the radio show, and they're going to be talking about things that they never really talk about on radio. They're going to do it kind of as a favor to me to, talk about things that are a little more personal, and it should be a lot of fun. So I just really hope that you guys are, going to make it out to that. That would be wonderful. And then the other thing that just came down the pike that I just heard about was that the MUFON Symposium, which is usually in late July, early August, is moved to the third weekend of September, and it's going to be in Irvine, California. And I hope you guys can make that. If you're living in the LA area, I really hope you can make that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And let's see what else is going on. Okay, MUFON, and I didn't have a chance to write the list, so it's like I've got to go through the brain list here and see if I've covered everything. Oh, and this is where it's all getting blurry, folks. I don't have enough money to go to International UFO Congress this year, even though it's very important to me to be there. I'm working out again with the people who put on International UFO Congress, Open Minds. I'm working out with them that they will let me use a hardwired connection to do a giant broadband internet feed to you guys live for 3 days. It'll be Friday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, and possibly Sunday afternoon, plus the Wednesday night show. And I might be able to actually broadcast live with video. So I'm really working on this. I've even got a couple people that have volunteered to come and help me, and they're going to help produce. They're going to run cameras. They're going to track people down for me, the whole bit. But I just don't have enough money to stay there. I can scrape up the money for gas, but it's always a challenge. The hotels are very expensive, and it just is really tough. So I hope... I'm planning on launching a California MUFON Radio t-shirt campaign again, which kind of flopped. The first one flopped, you guys. I got to say, it flopped big time. So I'm hoping that you out there will support me in getting to International UFO Congress. That will be where all the money goes from raising, selling the t-shirts, and it would just be wonderful if you guys could help me out and just, keep me, so I don't have to sleep in the car. That'd be really nice. I'd love you all for that. That would be great. So anyhow, there'll be more information about that up on the the Inception Radio Network website. We'll have a banner up in the next day or so. You might even get an email if you're part of the Insiders Club here at Inception. And there you go. So if I do make it to International UFO Congress, I hope that you guys will come out and see me there as well. I'm looking for, again, experiencers and people who have, maybe a different take on just what the UFOs, the crafts are. I mean, I love the technology part as well. So don't get me wrong. I'm not just looking for people who have hugged an alien. I'm looking for people who maybe have flown on a craft. So I want you all. That's what I want. I want to meet you all. Okay, well, let's get to some MUFON news here tonight. And as you can tell, folks, I'm getting over a cold and I'm still kind of all funkied up, but I'm hanging in there. So, and I hope you guys enjoyed the New Year's Eve special that we pulled off. I couldn't get to a Christmas one, but I did get the New Year's Eve one done, and I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to do. Or maybe it was the other way around. Can't even remember that now. Feels like weeks ago. Okay, so the sightings report. By country, of course, the United States, it had 397. The United Kingdom only had 28. That's surprising to me. You'd think that the Londoners and the people over in the South Side and all those people would be seeing a lot more UFOs than that. Come on, you guys, you got to catch up with us. Canada only had 21, and India is pulling in fourth place with 6. And then it just, dwindles down. So I guess December was a bad month for UFO sightings. So we only had 496 reported. And it's usually hovering between 600 and 700. So we're down about 100 for that. And of course, if we get to the States, California had 82. And I haven't even done mine yet. So I got a November one I've got to get in there. And Florida went up a bit. They're at 31. Texas still hovering in the 20s. They're at 29. So that's a little more than usual for them. Pennsylvania at 17. That's a little high for Pennsylvania. Colorado 16. Michigan 15. That's pretty good for Michigan there. New York at 15, Georgia 13, Arizona dropped down to 13 sightings. They're usually up in the top 5 or 6. And let's see, everybody else is falling in place, going on down in Oregon, and Washington dropped again. So, I bet it has something to do with the weather. Because when the weather gets bad, Oregon, Washington, it probably, and it rains all the time, I wouldn't want to be a UFO traveling in that. Who wants to get wet? So who knows? That may be why. Or maybe it's just that they cloak better or fly higher and nobody can see them. I bet that's it. Okay, now we're down to the part that I love the most, shapes of the object. The spheres, again, leading the pack at 106. Triangles at 47, and star-like, which has moved in this last year. It's moved from down in the middle up near the top, which is kind of interesting. Star-like, 43 star-likes. That's just amazing to me. And unknown has moved up to the 4th position. Now, what this means to me is that people are seeing something that is indescribable. Maybe it's transparent. Maybe it's just like a field of energy kind of blobbing around. It doesn't have a real solid shape to it. That's what I'm taking from that, because I didn't call this poor woman back. Now I'm feeling terrible. A woman called me on Saturday to tell me she was up in the hills of Sacramento, up near Auburn, Washington. Auburn, Washington, Auburn, California. And she was seeing a translucent spacecraft that was turning into rainbow colors, but it was like a translucent bubble, but it was huge. So I'm just thinking to myself, now, how do you even describe something like that? I haven't had a chance to call her back to find out about it, but this is the description I got in my voicemail. So very bizarre to me, folks, that we're getting a lot of these unknown type of, they're not really craft, they're things. You know, they could be other life forms for all we know at this point. So anyhow, so we're going on down the list here. The fireballs are still at 22, so they're in the 20s still. Cylinders are back up in, you know, it's interesting. Cylinder shape and cigar shape kind of change back and forth. And the chevron, those are the ones that they I don't know what happens, but now we're getting more cylinders, whereas a year ago it was cigars, and the year before that it was chevron. So I don't know. It's very bizarre to me. Maybe they're giving him frequent flyer points or something to come, and they cut off the frequent flyer points for the cigar shapes. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on, but it's pretty wild to me. So there you are, folks. That's the shapes of the month for December, and the states that are, you know, beating everybody out, and the countries that are beating everybody out. Of course, United States, because we are here and we got our internet and we can get to MUFON a lot faster. So there you are. Okay, well, I'm going to move on to Mark. Are you with me?
I'm always with you, Lorien.
I know you are. Thank God. Oh, everyone, I want you to meet Mark Schwartz. He is one of my biggest fans, and I love him for that. He always tells me, Lorien, I listen to you all the time. And I'm like, yay. And well, Mark, is it the chicken or go ahead.
Oh, and I think this is the first time I've ever been on your California MUFON show, to be honest. And I am totally excited and nervous because I love IRN. I think they're one of the coolest networks online to listen to, and I love your show because it's just like so different and exotic UFO style. So I'm just pumped and nervous.
Thank
so
you.
If you hear me, you know, like humming okay. and ohing, that's why.
I still do so and but all the time, but I'm getting better. You know, I was never supposed to be a radio talk show host. This is all an anomaly. This is what I've been forced to do, believe me. So, Mark, is it the chicken or the egg? Did you listen to the show before you met me, or did you listen to the show after the MUFON meeting where you met me?
So I actually heard the show before I met you, but I had no idea that you did MUFON or had anything to do with MUFON. So then, you know, I'm getting engaged, and it was just one of those weekends where my fiance, I hate that word. It sounds so, I don't know. Anyways, my fiance was busy that weekend, and so I said, what do I have to do? What can I do? And I went and I looked at Meetup, and I saw there was a Meetup group for a MUFON meeting. I had been a huge Art Bell fan. I have been a huge Alien fan for years, you know, almost an experiencer. I don't know if I have. People tell me yes.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So I decided, what the hey, I'll go check out this MUFON meeting. And I was there and, you know, helped set up some audio video stuff and started talking to you. And I think that's when I realized, oh, wait, this Lorien, she's the same person that runs the show. And so wasn't quite sure. I just kind of thought that. And then about a week or two later, I was listening to the show. I came across I listen to IRN, came across it again, heard your voice, and I heard you talk about your Marin group, and I was like, oh, yes, that was her, which, you know, had I met you knowing that it was your show that I had been listening to previous, I probably would have been way too nervous to go up to you and talk to you. But not knowing that, paved the way for me to just be a normal person and say, hey, what's going on?
Oh, Mark, you were wonderful. Mark came up to me and said, let's see, what did you say? It was something about you had helped me out with UFO Con, and I was just so flabbergasted because so seldom, Mark, do people actually come up and say, I'll help you with your crazy endeavor, and it was just so sweet, and I really do appreciate it. But, we've only got like 10 minutes left here because we got a late start, and folks, I got to apologize. It was my fault we got a late start tonight. I was invisible because yesterday on Skype, because yesterday everybody was bothering me. So I just turned it to invisible instead of leaving it up there that I was there. And I forgot to turn it back to visible. And so I'm sitting here going, where are you guys? How come no one's getting hold of me? And they couldn't read my messages because I was invisible and I'd forgotten. So it's all my fault. So there we are. So we don't
need to fund that, an invisibility cloak. If we could fund one of those with Truth Funders.
Would that be great? Yeah, it just gets so crazy. My phone just rings and rings and rings. When everybody knows I'm home, Skype starts ringing. I mean, people don't even text to say, can you talk right now? They just start ringing you, So it's wild. So anyhow, so let's get on to Truth Funders because I think everybody needs to know what it is. I haven't even explained anything. So Mark, go for it.
Sure. So a little bit about me. I am a video text, social media guy, I guess you can say. My background is I've been working in the world of social media, of video technology, and social strategies for a good 12 years now. I helped create a special type of technology called ITVML, which is the Interactive Television Markup Language that a lot of you will start using or have been using and might not even realize it if you have Comcast and use your iPad and it works with your television. I sort of was one of the founders of that. And then in 2010, I was nominated for an Interactive Media Emmy Award, a prime time, and it was one of the first years that they ever did that. So
wow,
I have
cool.
I have a big background of all of this, of social media, of technology and the works, and something that has been a passion to me for so long has been the paranormal. And that's ghosts, that's aliens, that's UFOs, that's the works. And while I work on things, while I come up with social strategies, while I produce videos, used to produce videos for the Huffington Post, Weird News section. While I do all this stuff, I listen to podcasts all day long, and I listen to paranormal podcasts because I love it. It's entertaining to me. It's searching for the truth. It's searching for reality. A reality that we can't see but is there, and so many people have experienced it. And so, when I listen to all these different radio shows, what I hear is people saying that they would love to go explore, or they would love to make a documentary about UFOs, or they would love to write a book about their ghost or their paranormal experience. I hear all these wonderful people with these wonderful ideas, and what's stopping them and what's getting in the way is the fact that they don't have money to do it. Just like Lorien, you said you wanted to go to the symposium, and you're looking for a way to do that and to get some money so that you're able to share with everybody, all the people who can't be there. You'll be able to share what's going on. And so what I did was I came up with the idea for this company called Truth Funders. And Truth Funders is now an official company. We've been working together for a year. I brought up the business plan to who was the former my business partner, who was the former VP of AOL Time Warner during the big merger. He's now my business partner on this. But this is something that's sort of off the books from his usual thing and my usual thing, and we're doing this out of our passion and love for the paranormal. And what it is a crowdfunding platform. And what that means is you have a project and you really want to do it, like write a book, but it will cost you $5,000 because that's your time. You have to do research. You have to do all sorts of, travel, whatever you might need. It winds up being $5,000, but you don't have that money. And so by crowdfunding, what you do is you put that project up online and you tell people, please donate. If you donate, and you give rewards. So if you donate $5, you'll be on my special email list. If you donate $25, I'll send you, the book as soon as it's ready. If you send in $50, I'll send you an autographed copy of the book. And you're helping people out. It's really what it is. You're helping people in the movement out, and making it happen. But what separates this from things like Kickstarter and Indiegogo and GoFundMe is that this is completely, Truth Funders is completely based on the paranormal. So if I'm looking for anything about UFOs, about ghosts, about mind control, about conspiracies, if I have something to share with the world that I need to get out, Truth Funders, I can go there and create a campaign and I can share it. And the people that go to visit Truth Funders are people who are into the paranormal and are more willing to donate than, the random person on one of these bigger crowdfunding platforms that's just looking at strange inventions and normal movies that are out there. If that makes any sense. Am I making sense, Lorien?
Oh, yeah. No, this is just wonderful. I'm so glad you're explaining it so succinctly because, it's hard to, I tell people about it and they kind of look at me with their eyebrows up and I go, no, you know what Indiegogo and Kickstarter and all that stuff's about? And they go, yeah. And I go, well, this is even better because it's the cool things that you would never find over at Kickstarter. I mean, this is just mind-boggling. And, folks, right now, Mark, how many projects do we have up on the site right now? And I say we only because I feel like I'm part of the family there.
You're definitely part of the family. It's so we just launched. I mean, this is brand new. It's a baby. We don't even know what's going to happen with the site, and what's going to go on. It'll take on a life of its own. But we've been up now for almost 2 weeks. We've had over 4,000 visitors to the site. We've had a couple $100 in donations to different projects. Donating to any project helps. Even if you just donate to we have like a Truth Funders bumper sticker, right? And it's $20. $20 for a bumper sticker, that's ridiculous. But really it's not, because what that does is that $20 goes into paying the people that are working on the site. And not only that, is we're going to take all the funding from these $20 bumper stickers or whatever, and we're going to donate it to other people's campaigns that are creating their campaign on Truth Funders. So we're not keeping that money. That money is going into other people's campaigns that might be struggling to make a difference. And there's also currently UFOCon, which you're associated with. That is one of our projects, and we have about 7 projects. There's 20 more projects in the can that I just have to get out there. They're so close to being done. So there'll be more stuff. Like every day, if you go to Truth Funders, you'll see a new project, something exciting, something new and different. So UFOCon is up there. It costs a lot of money for Lorien to put UFOCon on. So I wanted to help out and create a project where people can donate. And a lot of people might be listening to this particular, podcast or this particular radio show on IRN somewhere else that's not California, and they're not able to make it here. Or they might be in a wheelchair and they're not able to make it here for UFOCon. So what's so cool about UFOCon's project on Truth Funders is that you donate $5, you're helping the cause. You donate $10, you're helping the cause. But if you donate that $10, you can get a video of one of the speakers that's actually speaking at UFOCon. If you donate $100, you get both days, and you get all of the speakers, and you get to watch all of that from the comfort of your own house. And so not only are you doing a great thing by donating, but you're actually getting something back for it. So it's not even just like a pure donation and goodwill, which is how we look at it, but you're actually getting a little something extra too. And you can write that off. That's a tax write-off. That's a donation to somebody's project.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
and Mark, what's really cool about that is I'm going to add in little little surprises that people don't know about yet either. And it's just going to be a lot of fun because I'm actually going to give them something that I'm going to make. So that'll be a lot of fun for them, I hope.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Had I never met you, Lorien, and I just listened to your show and I was listening right now, I would go on to truthfinders.com and I would do that just so that I could sort of meet you or talk to you. It's just such it's a new thing, and it needs support, and it needs support from the community. But how else are we going to get the truth out there? And, even if you are doing a documentary and you find out that what you're trying to film is, it's not UFOs or it's not aliens, it's really something else. Well, that's still the truth, and you're still able to expose that, and that's what this is all about. It's about finding out what's real and what isn't. And, there's just so many different avenues and so many different projects that people can make and people can donate to. And we're really looking for projects that people have right now. So if you went to the website and you went to create a project, it's as easy as just typing in what your project is and what you want to do, and then we contact you within 24 hours and work with you. And currently we'll build your project because we're in the beta mode, so we are doing all the technical work. It's just a matter of you, getting it out there once it's built, sharing it with your social media, and we'll be talking about it on shows like California MUFON, and we'll be talking about projects on hopefully Coast to Coast. And we're working with the Huffington Post, so there'll be a lot of traffic coming in once that article, lands. So there's all sorts of stuff in the works for it, and I just, from the bottom of my heart, hope that people support UFOCon, because Lorien throws her back into this, and currently there's $0 donated, and we need to turn that into at least $1,000 donated. So if you're listening out there somewhere, you want to see something really cool, you want to be a part of UFOCon and hear some of the stories from people that you don't necessarily hear on other podcasts or shows like Coast to Coast, which is amazing. Like I love that show. But you want to see something and hear something different, donate that $10 and decide what speaker you want to see, and you'll be able to get the video.
Great.
And help a good cause.
Yeah, Mark, I went over the half hour, a few minutes, so that you and I can finish up with this tonight. But you'll be my full guest next week. And we're going to bring on some people that are doing projects over at Truth Funders. So it's going to be a really fun show. And who I'm really looking forward to talking to is the guy who's looking for the monsters on the islands.
Oh, he is incredible. He's from Australia.
Oh, I can't wait.
He has a lost island of giants, like the last living giants that are there. They are 10 to 15 feet tall.
My God.
He has real video footage. I mean, this is legit. It is crazy. The lost islands of the South Pacific that aren't explored very often, he goes out there because he's a miner, so he has to go out there for work. And they also see all sorts of bizarre creatures that have not been documented, that are not necessarily dinosaurs, but they look very prehistoric. So there's a lot of cool cryptozoology stuff he's doing there too.
Cool.
So
so we'll talk to him next week, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great. Okay, this is going to be fun. I really can't wait to have him on, and a couple other people, and maybe Dr. Diane Powell will come on for a little bit. Who knows? We'll have everybody on. We'll have a free-for-all next week. How's that sound?
Yeah, oh my gosh, that would be fantastic. All these people are incredible with incredible things to share.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break here at California MUFON Radio. And Mark, thank you so much, sweetheart. I'll talk to you soon.
Lauren.
And everybody stick around for Don Ledger. He'll be with us right when we get back. So hang in there.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin. Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Just a reminder that Inception Radio Network is on Twitter. Follow us at I_R_N and keep up to date about who's on tonight, what interviews they'll be doing, who's guest spotting, what topics they'll be covering. Tweet to us, tweet about us, retweet topics to your friends, and most importantly, never miss a great show again. That's I_R_N.
Do you have a smartphone? If so, Inception Radio Network is the best app for you. Available on iTunes, Android, Samsung, and most other app stores. Just search Inception Radio Network. With the app, you can listen live, check out podcasts of recent and past shows, view our videos, see what shows are coming up, who the guests are, and, via the chat room, send live questions to those guests. You know it makes sense. Check your app store now. Inception Radio Network. I'll see you there.
Hello, IRN listeners. This is MJ saying hello and sharing an awesome secret I discovered. It's called dreamnuage.com. Fresh, raw, organic ingredients are used to create all their products. They are made in very small batches to ensure quality and freshness. Handmade in the USA, each product is created with care and with the finest organic ingredients. There are no preservatives, dyes, or chemicals in any product. Stop by Dream Nuage and relax. That's DREAMNUAGE.com. Simple, raw, organic.
Hello, I'm Pat Usford, inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages every Monday evening at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com.
EPIC is Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council, the forum for scholars, experts, and those fascinated by and involved in the study of ancient civilizations, conspiracies, cryptozoology, ETs, and UFOs, fringe science, the paranormal, and all manner of extraordinary phenomena. Please join EPIC as we examine the mysteries of the world and beyond on epicvoyagers.com. And for updates on the upcoming interactive video presentations, the latest news and discussion on the EPIC forum, as well as research, investigations, and membership opportunities. Epic Voyages program schedule is on the Inception Radio Network. Thank you for joining us.
Howdy, this is Joe Mars. I'm inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com. That's epicvoyagers.com.
Hello, everyone. Lorien Fenton here, host of the California MUFON Radio Show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 once a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO sky watches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today. Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton. We're back here on Inception Radio Network, and it is 2015, by the way. I just figured that out a few days ago. I finally wrote the first check with 15 instead of 14, so that it took a few weeks for that to, settle in. So anyhow, I hope you guys are having a great time so far this year, and I do hope that you get a chance to listen to the special we did, the New Year's Eve special. It was a lot of fun, and Joe was wonderful. Joe Champion, one of the owners and producers here at Inception Radio Network, along with MJ. He put together the show, and he put the music I wanted at the beginning, and he put the explosions at the end, and he just did all this editing for me that was just so wonderful. And I only gave him like 5 minutes to do it in, so I got to thank him profusely for taking care of me, and it turned out really well, so I was very happy about that. And one of the things that came out of that interview is that I realized that I have a couple MUFON directors that are very close to some incidents and sites and places I want to visit. So I can almost guarantee you folks that we will be doing some really fun things this summer, and I'm going to take my good buddy Plutronus that you all know about here on Inception Radio Network on my show, and I'm going to take him with me, and he's going to be the science advisor, and I'm going to be the cuckoo advisor. So we'll get it from my end and from his end, and maybe we'll get something in the middle that's actually concrete that makes sense. So I'll be the woo-woo cuckoo advisor, and he'll be the science advisor. So it'll be kind of like, Captain Kirk on acid meets Spock. That's the only way I can describe it. It'll be a lot of fun. And so there you are, folks. That'll be a lot of fun, and we'll try to do some live broadcasting from some very cool places for you guys. So that'll be really cool. We're working on it right now for probably the last 2 weeks of July. And we'll be traveling around. It's going to be really fun stuff. So anyhow, so there you are. That'll be really interesting. Now, if we can make it ever, this is someplace I want to go, and that's Shag Harbor up near Halifax, Nova Scotia. So we have with us tonight Don Ledger. He is the proprietor of Shag Harbor UFO. ShagHarborUFO.com. Harbor is spelled HARBOUR. UFO.com. So ShagHarborUFO.com. Don, are you with me?
I'm right here, Lorien.
Oh, great. It's so good to hear your voice again. How are you doing these days?
I'm doing pretty good. Like you, I had a cold about a week and a half ago, but I'm pretty much over that now.
That's great. Were you around children during your Christmas holiday?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I've got granddaughters, but there's a lot of young people, relatives now that have their own children, and I remember from when we had ours when they were going to school. They were real germ factories. They're always bringing something home from school.
That's right. I was just telling somebody in the chat room, I think it was Durhuff. I said, I'm still getting over a cold, and I said, yeah. He goes, I was around children during the holidays, and I said, they're just walking petri dishes. And
that's right, exactly it. Yeah.
And I'm never around kids, so
they're always very affectionate too, so they're hugging and kissing you, and they're just transferring germs all over the place, So.
Absolutely, they keep the gene pool cleaned. I'm absolutely sure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, weed out the weak, like the old and infirm, like me.
Oh dear. Well, anything new? Well, let's start out with anything new in the UFO world you want to talk about, because we'll talk about Shag Harbor in a little bit. We'll talk about your other book called Blood. I'm going to get to that page here in a second. Blood Shock.
Yeah.
Here in a little bit. We talked about it a tiny bit on the last show that you were on a few months ago, but I'd just like to hear anything new happening to you.
No, not lead a pretty boring life these days. The blood shock you were talking about, and folks, that's S-H-O-C-K at the end, not S-H-O-T. I get that a lot when you're conversing,
Yeah.
I have my normal chores, writing-wise, to keep up with, where I do write for an aviation magazine here in Canada. I got back a few weeks ago from NARCAP. I was alerted to a UFO sighting by an airliner out west of me here. Of course, I'm in Atlantic Canada, so all of Canada is west of me. And so I'm waiting to hear if I'm going to be able to investigate that or not. Right now, the pilot made a pretty good report, but he is reluctant to release his name or get too involved, and for good reason these days.
Oh, yeah. So, now, Don, let me ask you a question about that. When a pilot does see a craft, does he have to, obviously you guys are coaxing him into reporting this, right?
Yeah.
But does he have to give his name? Can it just be anonymous?
Well, he can be, to NARCAP he is. What he does, say if NARCAP was going to handle this, and since this one was in Canada, NARCAP is in the United States, and they only look after the American stuff, but like Chicago here and a bunch of the other things,
right?
Other reports, but so if you can get to the pilot, or the crew, and find out what happened, what you do is assign a code number to not only to the case, like case number 5, that's no big deal, but you assign a code to the name of the pilot and the flight first officer and maybe an engineer if there's one on board these days. And that's all it's referred to, so that they can be kept anonymous. But we know who they are and wouldn't give it out. But even so, they're reluctant to usually to report these things because they don't want to people think they're crazy. And, you get these, awful airline disasters like we've had over last year and early this year, with airplanes crashing, particularly over in, around Indonesia and so on. People get a little antsy as it is.
Right.
They don't want to be thinking that their captain is a little daffy or something like that, even though, strangely enough, a good portion of the population is prepared to buy into this UFO phenomenon as something that's there, but nobody knows what it is. And that's the way I approach it. It's still the companies, the airline companies and the personnel, the CEOs, and of course the military don't want to talk about this. They don't want to give it credence. And that's and there's a good reason for that. Once upon a time, strangely enough, Hangar 1 was just on there a few minutes ago. It was one I'd seen before, and they were talking about Chicago here and some of the older cases too. In the older cases, pilots were free to talk about some sighting they had, and they talked to the newspapers and so on, and it fueled the hype and so on about unidentified flying objects. But after a while, when it became obvious, particularly with some of the cases that were reported where there was interdiction between the unidentified flying object and a military aircraft, particularly in the United States, they couldn't keep up with these things, and to date, still can't seem to keep up with them. They can't stop them from showing up, and they can't do anything about it when they do. And they try to chase them, and they just outrun. It's got to be a source of embarrassment to any country in the world that's guaranteeing its public the sanctity of their skies, the sovereignty of their skies, the safety of their skies, and that nothing will get in here that we can't handle. And but yet things do get in there all of the time, and they can't do anything about it. So that has to be an embarrassment to them. So
absolutely.
What's the best way to handle that? Deny. Nah, that's not going on. It's natural phenomenon, and of course some of the stuff is. But let's face it. Now I've been at this game so long now. It's got a beard on it, and I know for that there's just too many things that are being seen up there and reported that got nothing to do with natural phenomenon. Maybe it is a natural phenomenon, but it's a natural alien phenomenon, whatever that is.
Well, absolutely. It's not us. Well, maybe it is us flying them at this point on some of these craft. I wouldn't doubt that at all. As a matter of fact, Don, you don't know this, but on 11/1, not 1/11, but 11/1, I saw my first black triangle UFO with the lights on the three corners, and possibly, it was hard to tell because of the angle it was at, the glowing orange in the middle.
Yeah. Where was this?
It was huge. It was in Petaluma, California, right after my MUFON meeting.
Oh, yeah.
And a week later, the next month on December 7th, Brenda, one of the women in my group, she was driving home on Highway 101 from Petaluma and saw another huge triangle UFO.
Yeah.
And it seems that they're using the 101 corridor as a place to travel up and down, apparently, right now.
Might be using it to navigate on with all the headlights.
It could be. I have no really idea of what they're doing, but I can tell you this, Don, it was huge. And I was absolutely flabbergasted. It wasn't huge low in the sky, but I could tell how at the angle it was and how it was moving and everything, that it was just gigantic. It wasn't, unless, now this is, another friend brought this up to me the other day. He said, Lorien, it could have been really low and not that big. And I thought, oh yeah, okay, that's a possibility, because you don't know. But I mean, no matter what it was. Oh, well, here's the cool part, Don. It didn't fly over. It appeared. It decloaked.
Oh yeah.
It decloaked.
It just showed up.
It just showed up, and then it shimmered and did a shaky thing for a while it was moving, which my girlfriend that saw it with me, thank God I have a witness, said, it looked like the guy didn't know how to drive it.
Yeah.
I said, I think you're right.
Yeah, if it was a guy.
Yeah, if it was, exactly.
Yeah. Well, here's another.
Go ahead.
No, well, one of the things is that what's really important is the speed of these things. You got a monster aircraft in the sky. Let's just use our own example, which the biggest airplane in the world now is the A380, the Airbus, the big one. And that thing has to be traveling at least 180 to 190 miles an hour just to stay airborne. When it lands, it's doing 160. All right? So if you've got something up there that's huge and it's just sitting there, we don't have anything that can do that. Now, they'll talk about blimps and so on and so forth. Most often, you're going to know it's a blimp. You'll hear it. You'll see lighting and so on and so forth, but they won't be lit. They won't be triangular shaped either. I had a case some years ago with two police officers seeing. Actually, they reported it to Whitley Strieber's show at the time. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just fascinated. Keep going.
It's just that my screen went black on me. Anyway, and now, so I got wind of it, and I ran around Halifax, Dartmouth, because they said they spotted it near in a city in Nova Scotia where there were bases, and there was only one, and that was Halifax that had more than one base.
Okay.
And, so what I did is I went around the various police department, Royal Canadian the Royal Canadian Mounted Police detachments, RCMP, and put up little posters if your officers reported to a program in the United States about a huge object spotted near a military base, please contact me. And I left my number, and I made sure that it was. I said everything will be kept confidential, but I never did get back. And by the time I was able to get a hold of Whitley, he'd lost the telephone number. And actually, the officer's wife had called in, and then they contacted the officer. But anyway, this thing was they described it being about an eighth of a mile long on a side. So three sides to it, and absolutely huge. And they watched it was about 2:00 in the morning. But anyway, what really, puzzled them was the fact that it was just sitting up there hanging in the sky for a while. It was moving, but so slowly. And then all of a sudden, zam, it was gone.
That's exactly what mine did, Don. It was just like it was hovering and shimming and doing some weird stuff for a while, and then it was gone. It was like it took off at supersonic speed.
I think we already talked about the case in Cow Bay, didn't I? Last time I was on here.
I'm not sure. Go ahead and refresh my memory about it.
Well, that's another one of those, and this is one I was able to get my hands on right off the bat. The first notice I got of it was a newspaper reporter called me up and asked me if I'd heard anything about this particular case.
That's right. I remember this. But go ahead, because people, if I can't remember the whole story, I'm sure everybody else can't either.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Another one of those picturesque or descriptive names for in Nova Scotia. And it was called Cow Bay. But it's if you look at if you go on the Google map and you find Nova Scotia, and then you find Halifax, Dartmouth. Halifax is to the south of our harbor, and southwest, and Dartmouth to the northeast, and it curves right around the harbor. But just slightly to the east, northeast of Dartmouth itself, there's a little bay there called Cow Bay. It's right in the municipality. It's not like it's isolated or anything.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so what had happened is some woman had called the newspaper and asked if anybody had seen anything, like a big triangular object over Cow Bay area or Shearwater area, which is there's an Air Force base there, and so he contacted me, and I said, well, I'd look into it. He gave me the woman's name, and I contacted her and went out to see her, and took her statement and so on, and did some measuring around the area because she was sitting on her home, had gone out to, this would have been August 12th, 2003. This is quite a while ago now, and so 11 years ago, and she was sitting out watching the Perseid meteor shower. That's what she was. Cool. An amateur. She was an amateur astronomer. She's a computer engineer, and she was also a sailor. Had her own little yacht, and
wow.
So she had considerable knowledge of navigation and stars and so on. But she was an amateur astronomer anyway, and had a telescope and so on. She was sitting outside waiting for this thing, and she was the only other life force present was her black Labrador dog, which it was suffering from acute arthritis in the spine, and it could barely move its rear end, when it was moving.
Oh,
so anyway, about 2 o'clock in the morning, she's looking up the sky, and every once in a while she sees a meteor come across. The area, if you're sitting on her deck, is about in the center of a circle of trees that's maybe about 100 feet across. If that, maybe 80 feet, and all of a sudden, one of the meteors came over from the northeast and was swooping down, and it just seemed to disappear all of a sudden behind a black line. And she said, "Well, that's peculiar." And then all of a sudden, she became aware that this black line was proceeding across the sky and blocking off the star field. And when it gotten over her house, she could see all 3 corners of it, and this thing was moving with the flat edge forward, not the point forward. So it was a triangular object, huge, black, with, she said, the most ludicrous little white lights on each corner as it crossed over her clearing, and just blocked out everything. And it wasn't going very fast. And then it sort of turned to the southwest and went over that way and disappeared over the tree line. Now, this thing just freaked her right out. Matter of fact, the dog started reacting, which animals often do in the presence of unidentified flying objects for some reason, and jumped up and ran to the back of the trailer. What was even more freaked her out even more was the fact that the dog jumped up and ran to the back of the trailer because it could barely move. And anyway, she'd quit smoking about a month and a half before that. She went inside and found a pack of cigarettes and spent the rest of the night sitting there and took a couple of pills for a headache she was getting, and smoked the whole package of cigarettes.
My God. Hey, Don, I hate to do this to you because this is always the good part. We got to take a break now, and we'll be back, and I want to hear more about what this woman's had to say after that experience when we get back, folks. So hang in there with us. We'll be right back with Don Ledger.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin. Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, IRN listeners. This is MJ saying hello and sharing an awesome secret I discovered. It's called genial. Fresh, raw, organic ingredients are used to create all their products. They are made in very small batches to ensure quality and freshness. Handmade in the USA, each product is created with care and with the finest organic ingredients. There are no preservatives, dyes, or chemicals in any product. Stop by Dream Nuage and relax. That's DREAMNUAGE.com. Simple, raw, organic.
Hello, I'm Pat Ustford, inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages every Monday evening at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com.
EPIC is Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council, the forum for scholars, experts, and those fascinated by and involved in the study of ancient civilizations, conspiracies, cryptozoology, ETs, and UFOs, fringe science, the paranormal, and all manner of extraordinary phenomena. Please join EPIC as we examine the mysteries of the world and beyond on epicvoyagers.com. And for updates on the upcoming interactive video presentations, the latest news and discussion on the EPIC forum, as well as research, investigations, and membership opportunities. Epic Voyages program schedule is on the Inception Radio Network. Thank you for joining us.
Howdy, this is Joe Mars. I'm inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com. That's epicvoyagers.com.
Hello, everyone. Lorien Fenton here, host of the California MUFON Radio Show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today. Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton. We're here on Inception Radio Network, the home of the amazing app. I hope you guys have all got your app, because that's the only way I listen to the show anymore. When I'm at work and when I'm hanging out, I'm listening to it on my cell phone. I'm listening to replays. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Hope you are too. And, you know, it's that time of the show, you guys, where I say, join MUFON. I mean, I don't know how more blunt to be. You really need to check out the new MUFON Evolved page. It's MUFON.com, MUFON.com. Check them out, folks, because as I always say to you guys, it's really becoming much more of an event type of thing every month, in every state, where people of like mind, of like curiosity get together. And, I got to say, I met Mark Schwartz there. He came to my MUFON meeting because he wanted to check out, aliens and UFOs and that type of thing. And I would never have met Mark without MUFON. And you would be surprised at the people you're going to meet at the MUFON near you. The Phoenix MUFON's going amazing. Utah MUFON is doing wonderful. All the California MUFONs are jam-packed full of people all the time. And Oregon MUFON is starting up again. They're starting to have meetings every other month, if I remember correctly. It's really exploding, especially here on the West Coast. I'm not sure how you East Coasters are doing, but you guys, I know that if you just started advertising and doing meetup and that kind of thing and checking it out, the MUFON meetings would grow and grow. So I really do hope that everyone visits MUFON and becomes a member of MUFON. It's really important. It's only $35 a year. You get the electronic newsletter. You get notices in the newsletter of all the conferences coming up. You get amazing articles. You get the reports that I read to you guys. It's just wonderful. Jan Harzen is doing an amazing job. And hopefully he'll be on the show here pretty soon, because it's now about time. He should show up at least once a year. So I got to pin him down for that. And MUFON, in my opinion, is just really... it's evolving with the times. For a while it wasn't. I'll be the first to admit that, but we really are these days. So do your best to get to a meeting. Join us. If you like the meetings, please join us, because we really are out on the forefront. And we're doing a whole new database system so that when you start, reporting your sightings like I have to do, I haven't done mine yet, it'll be easy. I'll just go to the website and I'll type in a few things and I'll describe what happened, and then it'll get instantly posted, and then people will see the triangle over Petaluma, California on a date, and we can just really start keeping track of where all these sightings are coming from. And you guys, I have been just absolutely amazed at the database as it was, because you could see sightings over everywhere in the United States. And I looked at it one night and I'm going, what the heck? It's like a major airport out of every freaking state out there. I was like, what? How could people not be seeing these all the time? It's amazing to me. So anyhow, just fascinating stuff going on at MUFON. I'm just really proud of them, and they're really doing a wonderful job. And Jan's leading the pack. MJ's in there. He's one of the directors. We have all kinds of people at MUFON. So please, please, please get to MUFON.com. Join us if you can, and you'll enjoy it. I promise you. You really will. Okay, Don, are you with me?
I'm still here. Okay,
great. And what do you think about MUFON? Did I ever ask you that?
I used to belong to MUFON back in 1992, 93, 94 area, somewhere around there. Both myself and Chris Stiles, who, did the Shea Gerber thing.
Right.
And, but we were the only two. And
you were the only two in Halifax?
Well, in Nova Scotia or Eastern Canada, as far as I know. And but the reports we were sending in were basically just not. They were just disappearing into a black hole. Which was into
it doesn't happen like that anymore, Don. I can guarantee you. Yeah.
And nowadays, strangely enough, I'm retired, but more and more I have less time, it seems, to devote to, actual ground investigations. So I like to restrict myself to the really good ones. So I find something I can really get my teeth into, then I'll go after it. And
absolutely.
A lot of times, there's so few of us up in this end of the country, in Canada here, over in the East Coast, in Atlantic Canada area, you're talking almost an area the size of England to run around here, just trying to, if you want to do investigations, and it's kind of expensive. A lot of times you got to do it on the phone, or you can do email and so on. But I like to look them right straight in the eyes when I'm talking, talking to witnesses, because I want to see the reactions. You can pretty well tell after a while. You get to be like a cop. You can tell whether they're, embellishing, or if they're Excuse me, my cold must be coming back. Whether they're confabulating or whatever, you want, when I see people starting to, get shaky, tears running down their cheeks, so on and so forth, it's a little more convincing for me than and not only that, I can get some really good information out of them. I found over the years too that quite often people will email me, say I had a UFO sighting, and I'll email back, oh, that's very good. I'd be interested to hear about it. And they'll send me a little report, and then I'll go back and have a good look at the report, and then I'll start asking them all the questions about date, time, location, weather conditions, winds, and all kinds of stuff. And at that point, they usually burn me. Because they can't be bothered going through all of the effort to do a decent UFO report. That's the reason I like to be able to look, sit right down at them in the kitchen table or something and hash it out. But
and I totally agree with you on that. That's one of the great things that about being a MUFON investigator that I love is that a lot of the lights in the sky type of things are doing that by email and a lot with the CMS, the database system we have, and they're making it so much more easier, Don, for people to get in there and just, make a report like, oh, I saw this, kind of orange glowing ball in the sky and it was coming northeast from blah, blah, blah. And, just your basic stuff like my sighting. My sighting's just a sighting. There's nothing that happened beyond that that I know of. I always add that in there. And they're making it a lot easier, though, for the investigators to distinguish which are cases we really need to go out and see them eye to eye. If they're really bizarro cases, we got to be there. And if they're just a light in the sky, then they can do it on the website. And we determine that with a phone call. So that's pretty good, and it's basically what you're doing.
Well, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I used to maybe be handling 5 or 6 cases or 7 or 8, maybe 10 in a year, years and years ago. That was 20 odd years ago now. But now I'd be lucky if I handled 1, and
what would happen, Don, if you became a MUFON investigator? You'd be getting 1 a week. I
imagine. I see them on.
I know that there's people up in Canada and in the Nova Scotia area that have been making reports over the years. So I know you'd be really busy.
New Fork has some, I go on there from time to time and I'll see National UFO Reporting Center have cases on there. My God, I've forgotten his name. And I know the guy.
Davenport.
Peter Davenport. Yeah. That's an old age thing. And I'll see where people have reported cases down there, but they'll go online, they'll look for a site that they can go to, and if the site says you can report UFOs here, that's what they'll do, and then they don't see me on there because I don't have that on my site, and I'm almost afraid to do it because I don't want to disappoint people and just reply to them, well, thanks for the report, and that's the end of it. I would really like to be able to get involved in the case. And I've had some pretty good cases. We were just talking about that Cow Bay one there,
Let's get back to that. I'm sorry. I started talking about other things, and I do want to hear what happened after she sat and smoked a pack of cigarettes all night. What happened to the poor woman? I interviewed her, and she told me, all of this stuff and so on, and I got her bona fides and, whether she had the chops to be able to identify aerial objects and, particularly celestial objects, what I meant. And she was very knowledgeable about the night sky because she was an amateur astronomer. And she said she'd never seen anything like this before. It deeply disturbed her. And so I get back to the newspaper guy, and I asked him if he'd get anybody else had called him that might have seen it, and he said no. And so he said, I'll call you back. And I said, all right. In the meantime, back then there was probably 3 daily newspapers in the Halifax Dartmouth area, so I contacted them. I contacted the RCMP, and I contacted the Halifax police, and they didn't have any reports. So anyway, he called me back and asked me a few questions, and I reported what she had reported to me. I didn't give him her name,
But the next day I was due to go away on vacation, which I was wrapping around a business trip. My wife and I were going to go out west, and I think we were going to, I think it was Regina in Saskatchewan or something. Actually, when I got there, this was, probably 5 days later, somebody had said to me that they read the newspaper report about this UFO sighting down around Halifax, had my name attached to it. And I said, really? They showed me the paper, and it wasn't any paper I talked to. I forget what the name of the paper was out there, but it was actually it was a Canadian press story, CP, so syndicated. And so when I started looking into this, I found out this thing had basically gone around the world. France was reported the story in a German newspaper, English newspaper, the United States, Canada, of course. And so I thought, well, that's weird. And then, probably within a matter of 4 days or so, I returned home to Halifax, turned on my computer, and I found out I had on my phone message machine had something like 30 messages on it.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Now, I could expect maybe 2 or 3, when we went away, or 4, but not 30. And then my computer, my emails was just loaded on there. There must have been 80 or 90 emails about people contacting me about UFOs. Because I don't know how they got my email address. Maybe through, I can't remember now how that was done. Don't forget, this was way back in 2003. So,
well, Don, what bothers me about this whole thing is that they must have been having a really slow news cycle, because how often do they really ever report like that?
This is it. There was, the three papers in Halifax got involved, and here all this time I'm out of touch. Didn't know anything about it. This would have been, I would have had a cell phone with me, but I don't think the newspaper reporter had my cell number. Probably just as well. But anyway. The thing of it was, when I started going through the emails, one in there was, if you need a hand with this, more information, please contact me. And didn't say anything else. So I just that one seemed to be a little less detailed than some of the other ones I was getting by people who reported that at that time, there was a couple of campers. They saw something the same night, and so on and so forth. And but when I got back to eventually, about a week after that, I got another email from this person who said, if you don't contact me, the tape will be erased.
Oh, now that's interesting.
Yeah, and I thought, now this sounds like air traffic control to me. And it was. But it was somebody at air traffic control that had been interested in the story and contacted me and wanted to contact me and see if I wanted him to see if he could find anything on the tapes for that night. And he did, and he had 2 days left. And he went on and he found something on there that he reported back to me, which was a slow-moving object, right where it should be, at 1,800 feet. And from the radar, where he was seeing it, 1,800 feet was almost in the grass, which means it's almost right below the horizon for the radar to be able to see it. But they could see it moving, and he could see it moving, and it was moving at 10 miles an hour to the southwest, just like the witness said it was. Very slow. Now, don't forget, this thing is a monster. When I did the math, simple geometry on the thing by knowing the distance, the height of the trees, the size of the circle of trees around me, in diameter, and the known altitude, she said it was up where the little airplanes fly from Shearwater. There used to be a flying club there then, and they would fly over at that point. They'd be at about 2,000 feet making an approach down into Shearwater to land, as did any of the military aircraft. And so we'd assumed it was at somewhere around 2,000 to 3,000 feet. Now I had it from this other fella that it was at 1,800 feet at least. So I had the 3 parameters, and I could do the math on that. And this thing appeared to be about 3,600 feet on a side. 3,600 feet on one side, and the other side, and the other side. So this was a monster. And then this thing was turning southwest, heading for Shearwater, which was a CFB Shearwater, which is Canadian Forces Base, Air Force Base. And Naval Air Base, but the Navy doesn't fly aircraft anymore other than helicopters. But anyway, I contacted a friend of mine who's with the Coast Guard, and he's on harbor traffic control in Halifax. And I asked him if there was any way that we could check this out. He said he'd look to see, because their radar is downward looking right on the harbor, doesn't see anything much above 300 feet. And he said,
okay.
I wanted to clear, because the air traffic controller said you have to check to make sure that this wasn't a ship at sea. Now, Halifax is surrounded by sea. There's a big harbor. You get out the mouth of the harbor, and you got the Atlantic Ocean all the way over to the Azores. So,
right.
And so what I did there was I got him to do a check for me, and he checked, knowing the times and the shipping. And Halifax is a really busy shipping port. You know, container ships coming in here all the time.
It's just like San Francisco, where I live.
Yeah, well, it's not as big as San Francisco, but it used to be in pretty big competition with New York back in its day.
Oh, and, wow, okay.
Well, there's two giant container piers here, and at any time you can see container ships going up the harbor. It's a nice natural harbor, nice and deep. But anyway, the only ship they had left port 4 hours before that and was 70 miles down to the southwest down the coast, heading down to South America. So it was way over the horizon for the radar for shearwater. It wasn't going to see it. And so anyway, that was the only thing that would have shown up there, that could have been out there, that would have been large enough maybe to give that kind of reflection. But even then, at the distance it was at, it wouldn't give that kind of a reflection on radar. So anyway, I had this weird case. I went back to the guy and I asked him if he could get any further information for me. He says, I've already been asked by my supervisor why I was checking tapes for that night. Yeah, and the reason being is if you're checking tapes because if it's not for a UFO or something like that, you're looking to see if maybe you made a mistake or something while you were controlling traffic. And his supervisor wanted to know about that. And he apparently, the last email I got back from him, and I was never able to get him to respond to me again, was that his supervisor had advised him to just leave that stuff alone. And because he told his supervisor that he was looking at because he'd heard about a UFO in that area, and he'd looked it up, but he didn't mention me. But he did get back to me, and I tried to contact him a couple times to see if we don't have to report him or anything, but maybe just let me know if you pick up anything that's really weird. But I got an education in how the radar works for them, for unknowns and so on, and it was basically ignored at that time because it was moving too slow, and could have been what they, it wasn't a flock of birds. He said that there was no way a flock of birds was going to show up in radar this strong right down on the horizon doing a constant 10 miles an hour. They actually move much faster than that. But anyway, he said I know what birds look like on radar, and it didn't look like this. But anyway, there you go. You got to.
God, that's wild. That's a wild story.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because my first husband was a radar technician.
Yeah.
And he used to. Well, that was a whole marriage unto itself.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But he was a fascinating guy, and I truly believe that he had seen quite a few UFOs. But he was working for Raytheon later in his career, and he wasn't allowed what he did was he went in and swapped out a lot of the cards and did some computer programming on the radar systems for the military. Yeah. And when he worked on these ships, which people don't realize, when the pilots bring the ships into the bay, the captains don't. And I don't know if a lot of people know about that. They have what are they called, Don? I guess
harbor pilots.
Harbor pilots. Thank you. I couldn't remember.
They really know the charts for the sea in that area, and they go out and they get on the boat. They go out on a smaller boat, or a harbor pilot boat, and they get on the ship and they guide the ship in.
That absolutely, and they're either brought out by a smaller boat or helicopter, which people don't realize a lot of time.
Yeah, that's right.
And my ex used to have to go out on these harbor boats with the harbor pilots when they'd be taken back into, whatever, and they'd be on there all the time talking about UFOs that these guys are under. Actually, at that time, they were talking about the underwater UFOs.
Yeah, USOs.
Yeah, the
UFOs, as Carl Fink calls them.
Yeah, absolutely. And he says all the mariners know about him. But anyhow, the one story I remember the most was he was working on the USS, not Enterprise, one of them, those big, huge, where they land the planes on the whole bit. And he had a machine gun at his head on the right side and the left side. Yeah. And, basically you don't work on anything on those ships unless there's a guard there with you.
Well, this is it, yeah.
And the guards were talking about how they were down in the South Pacific touring around, and they had seen a whole bunch of UFOs. And he was listening, and he was making comments to them about the ones he'd seen growing up in Northern California. And so it's just common knowledge on all these ships, these Navy ships, that this goes on all the time, but they're not allowed to talk about it.
That's right.
And it's just crazy. I was absolutely shocked that they weren't allowed to talk about it. But the harbor pilots talk about it all the time. Yeah. They have no problem telling everybody about it.
It's sometimes, we become a shoulder to cry on UFO investigators. I've had many instances where, I shouldn't say many, so let's say maybe 12 or 13 or 14 instances where pilots have contacted me to report a case, and they say they don't want to be identified or anything. They just want to know if I have any idea what the heck is going on here. And they're Air Canada, I'm sure you're familiar with that. It's Canada's biggest air carrier.
You bet.
It's been around for, I don't know, since the 30s. It used to be called Transcanada Airlines, changed to Air Canada back in the 60s, I think. But anyway, it's huge, flies all over the world. And it was a 747 pilot contacted me one day in the middle of the afternoon. He called me up and asked me.
Don, guess what?
Gotta go, yeah.
I just looked down and it's our break time again. I can't believe this. I felt like we just took a break. We probably did. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back. Don's going to tell us more about the pilot, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Shag Harbor and Blood Shock. And we'll be right back, folks, so stay with us.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin. Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Hello, IRN listeners. This is MJ saying hello and sharing an awesome secret I discovered. It's called dreamnuage.com. Fresh, raw, organic ingredients are used to create all their products. They are made in very small batches to ensure quality and freshness. Handmade in the USA, each product is created with care and with the finest organic ingredients. There are no preservatives, dyes, or chemicals in any product. Stop by Dream Nuage and relax. That's DREAMNUAGE.com. Simple, raw, organic.
Do you have a smartphone? If so, Inception Radio Network is the best app for you. Available on iTunes, Android, Samsung, and most other app stores. Just search Inception Radio Network. With the app you can listen live, check out podcasts of recent and past shows, view our videos, see what shows are coming up, who the guests are, and, via the chat room, send live questions to those guests. You know it makes sense. Check your app store now. Inception Radio Network. I'll see you there.
Are you looking for a cure for boredom? Never worry. IRN's new interactive website introduces a number of ways to pass time while you listen to your favorite show. Choose anything from the IRN chat lounge, the game lounge, video lounge, or the mood lounge. These fun, exciting features let you chat in real time with fellow listeners, view live skywatches, play daily posted online games, or pick a show based on topic. The choices are endless. Use your time wisely, keeping it all on IRN.
Hello, everyone. Lorien Fenton here, host of the California MUFON Radio Show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Hello, I'm Pat Ustford, inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages every Monday evening at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com.
EPIC is Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council, the forum for scholars, experts, and those fascinated by and involved in the study of ancient civilizations, conspiracies, cryptozoology, ETs, and UFOs, fringe science, the paranormal, and all manner of extraordinary phenomena. Please join EPIC as we examine the mysteries of the world and beyond on epicvoyagers.com. And for updates on the upcoming interactive video presentations, the latest news and discussion on the EPIC forum, as well as research, investigations, and membership opportunities. Epic Voyages program schedule is on the Inception Radio Network. Thank you for joining us.
Howdy, this is Joe Mars. I'm inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com. That's epicvoyagers.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show here on Inception Radio Network, the home of the amazing app. So get it now. It's right there on the website, and you can get it on your phone, too. And I'm sitting here talking with Don Ledger. And Don, you know, we were just talking about the pilot. Was it a pilot?
Yeah.
Or a UFO report from a pilot? Let's finish that up, and then we got to start talking about Shag Harbor, or the show's going to be over.
Yeah. Okay. This particular pilot had contacted me, and he had two homes. One was in Holland, in Amsterdam, and the other one was in, I believe, in Toronto, in Canada. And he used to, move back and forth in those, depending on how his routes were working out for the 747 that he flew, for Canada. So one of the trips he was on, they were just south of Seoul, Korea, and Seoul, I think it's Seoul. And he said they were at about 34,000 feet, and all of a sudden this cylinder-shaped object hauled up alongside them about at their between 10 and 11 o'clock position, which puts them on their left-hand side, just slightly forward of the aircraft, but to their left. So it wasn't in the flight line of the aircraft. And he said maybe 500 feet away, and he said it was monstrous. Just this huge cylinder flying right along.
Oh, my God.
No apparent lifting surfaces, i.e. wings, and it just paced along in front of them. This is a 747, so it's cruising along there probably about 480 knots, which is probably about 550 miles an hour. So this is not a balloon or a blimp or anything like that. They can't get up much over 80 or 90 miles an hour. So even the best of them. And so he asked me, "Can you tell me what this was?" And I said, if I could tell you what this was for sure, I said, the world beating a path to my door. I said, but I said, I said, what I will do is I'll send you several reports of similar objects. I mean, I've had a sighting of my own, but this was on the ground of a cylinder-shaped object, more like the proportions of a pencil, but fairly close, and over Surrey, BC, back in 1988. or 1998, and but we talked for a bit, and he said, this myself and the first officer and the flight engineer all witnessed this thing, and we didn't know what to do, and he said, I didn't want to report it, but I did call and ask if there was any traffic in our position, really close to me at my 10 or 11 o'clock position, and they said that they had nothing. He said, yep, we're sitting there in broad daylight watching this thing. It was during the day, too. He said it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And he said all of a sudden it just started to increase its speed, and then, boom, over the horizon. It was gone. He said the thing had to be going, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 miles an hour at the, once it got up and running. And he said that was only in a matter of a few seconds.
I know, and see that, Don, that's the part that just blows my mind. Are they really still in our dimension when they do that, or are they heading into another type of field around themselves? Because how can you move that fast without making noises or burning up or?
Yeah, inertia. Just to get something like that moving, the terrific amount of power to overcome the weight of whatever this thing was. He said this had happened to him about 10 years before. So he reported this to me about 2006, I think it was. So it was around 1996 when he saw it. He said, but the problem is, he says, I think about this thing every day. At least once a day it pops into my head. And when I'm flying, I'm always looking around the sky looking. Because as a pilot, you see, you've got this monstrous object 500 feet away. I mean, the clearances, that's insane. At altitude, it's demanded that there be at least 5 feet of separation laterally to your left and right. 125 nautical miles fore and aft. And back in those days, it was 2,000 feet above and below you. That's what the separation was in air traffic controlled airspace. So when you get something this big, that close to you, and you don't know what it's doing, if it even knows you're there, although they suspect that these things had a pretty good idea that they were there, and yet you've got clearances that you signed off on when you left, whatever the last airport was, and you've been constantly getting clearances and directions from air traffic control all the way along as you go through the various intersections, and they're telling you, where you have to be, what altitude you should be at, and what direction you should be flying. Generally, obviously in the direction where you want to go. But, for clearance purposes, sometimes they have to move you around, vector you around the sky a bit to get you out of the way of other aircraft. And so you just can't turn away all of a sudden and decide to go off in another course without reporting it to air traffic control, because you're not sure what's actually around you in your airspace.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm just so flabbergasted that this thing was only 500 feet away from him and moving that fast. Yeah. And it was paralleling them, right?
Yeah. So the concern is great. Is this thing going to ram me? I've got 350 odd passengers behind me here, and the crew. And if this could go really serious, really fast. At 500 feet of separation, when 2 aircraft are doing about 530 or 480 knots, it doesn't take very long for the closing speed to get together. Bang! Next thing you got the biggest accident you ever heard of. And so that's what's going through their mind. Not only that this thing is really foreign and they don't know what it is. It seems to have no visible motivating power, and it doesn't seem to have any way to be flying. There's no wings on it or anything, And
absolutely,
so
that I bet it terrified them. I mean, I to be honest with you, Don, I didn't even freak out about seeing my spacecraft. I mean, my triangle. It didn't even faze me, and I don't know why it didn't. And maybe I've seen him before, and I just can't remember. You
were in a car, right?
No, I was standing on the ground, and I was with a bunch of people looking up in the sky through a night vision goggle, and a girlfriend of mine were laughing at them because there was nothing to see. And then we look up at the 45-degree angle into the sky, then this thing decloaks of, we're like, holy Moses. Now, in the moment, I started screaming, look, you guys, look, but I was not even fazed. And I'll tell you why. This is a very interesting part of the story I forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
Driving up in the car that day, I had made a conscious decision that I was going to quit doing all this.
Oh, yeah?
I had said, that's it. It's over. I've never seen a spacecraft that I know of. I've never had contact. And I've been a big, UFO person for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? I'm done. I can't. I've had some financial disasters over the last 2 years and things are just so bad. I thought, I'm going to get a job and I'm going to forget all this stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that night I see one and I'm back in the game.
It didn't have a sign that went across the bottom that says, "Oh, no, you're not."
Yeah, well, that's what everybody's telling me. They're saying, it appeared to you because obviously they're not done with you yet.
Yeah, baby. It's amazing how often these sort of things happen. I've had people tell me that they were watching an object cross the sky, fairly low down, and a newspaper photographer, I think I mentioned this, maybe I talked about it on one of the shows, for the Chronicle Herald in Halifax. That's a big newspaper. It's been around for 100 years or more, and it's, probably the biggest newspaper in the area. Anyway, he was out behind the Halifax International Airport one night going down what they call the old Goff Road, Goff.
Okay.
Guysborough Road is what it's called now, the old Guysborough Road. And he was traveling down there, and he pulled over because his engine quit. And so he's sitting, this is at night now, it's about 8 o'clock in the evening, probably sometime in October. Seems to be a popular time for UFOs around here. And so he got out to pop the hood on his car. And this is probably back around 1999. He was telling me about this. And while he couldn't see anything in the engine, it was still off, and he put the hood down and he looked up and he saw this object crossing to the south of him, going across the horizon. Fairly close, but, not very big either. He said, it didn't look like it was very big. There was lights on it, but you could see that it was an oval shape or disc shape. And he thought, I wonder what that is. But it was going slightly away from him. And he thought, geez, I wish it would get a little closer so I'd get a better look at it. And it turned at that point and started coming towards the car. That freaked him out.
Boy.
He said he got in the car and had put the windows up, and then the thing, he leaned out and looked over the right side of his car, the passenger side, and he could see the thing had stopped, and it turned and started going the other direction. And out of sight, and all of a sudden, the lights came back on his car. The engine didn't start, but he had to start it again. But it started up. We couldn't get it started before. He said, but what really bothered me was I'm a staff photographer. I never get out of my car, go anywhere if I don't pull that camera off the passenger seat. It's sitting right there. And I never even thought of it. And he said, that was really weird.
No, it's not, Don, because everybody I talk to that is a professional videographer, people that have gone to Area 51 and they're standing there with their camera, and then suddenly 5 lights in the sky are descending in this, star pattern and bursting over them and getting real low and shooting up into the sky. And this is going on for 5 minutes. They're standing there with their mouth open. Their brain is totally unengaged and their camera is hanging at their side.
Yeah, yeah.
And I truly believe that there is some kind of connection going on with and it's got to be the alien craft pilots, not the human craft pilots, because they make us do things that when we do have a sighting that we would never do.
Yeah, well,
we would never not have our camera in our hands if that's what we have with us 24/7.
This is exactly what I get from different people. The camera was inside the house, and I never thought to go and get it. And I've heard that story so many times from my witnesses and other people's UFO reports that it's just almost cliche to even bring it up anymore. So.
Yeah, absolutely. But Don, there are a lot of people out there that are breaking that paradigm. Have you ever heard of Dorothy Isett? I think that's how you pronounce her name. Up in Vancouver?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been able to film for years the activity going on at her house. And what's even scarier is that she's been able to capture on film in the house materialization of aliens in her home. Yeah,
I've heard about that. I've never gotten involved in it, but I've had my own witness reports, of not only of objects, but entities and so on and so forth, and some of the trials and tribulations these people went through. And the ones I've dealt with, it's not my area of expertise. I prefer to stay, with the aircraft and pilot sightings, or really good ground sightings, but don't have to be pilots, and stay in that and keep my nose out of that other part, because I really have no expertise there. I talked to Bud Hopkins on 3 different occasions, when we met up at different conferences and so on, and one time in let's move on out in San Jose. Back, I guess
you were at our MUFON meeting.
Yeah,
I love
2008.
You for that.
Yeah. Well, him and I had we were up the 10th floor of the hotel. I forget the name of it now. But anyway, on one particular lunch hour there, we spent 2 hours having a good chat over because they had it set up on the 10th floor. They call it the executive level or something like that.
Oh, yeah, the lounge up there, sure.
Yeah, but the food was all there. You didn't have to go out for lunch. The food was all laid out for you. It was great stuff. Pizza, and bacon and eggs for breakfast, stuff like that. Anyway, so we were able to sit there and have a heck of a good chat, and I exchanged some, I think I mentioned this before even, I questioned him about certain things, about these encounters and so on, and, one where I actually had which happened here in Nova Scotia in Cape Breton, where the witness committed suicide about 9 months later, and his mother.
What?
Yeah.
No, you didn't tell us about that. I don't think.
Well, I didn't like to get too deep into it because it's very traumatic for the family. Because the sighting, the father and the son had it. The family itself has had some weird events happen, while they were traveling as a family, camping and so on, and it almost seems like they were targeted, And
yeah, this isn't the son and father team that were out at Shag Harbor, though.
No,
right?
no.
Okay, good. Because we had that. There's a father and son that came out at one point afterwards, right?
Well, there was there was a number of witnesses, to this object traveling across the sky before it went down into the water. And,
did the son and the father, though, jump in the car and start heading out there?
Yeah. And that was Norman Smith and his actually it was his uncle, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Norman
I couldn't remember, but
yeah, and you had me going there for a minute. And well, him and another young fellow, they were only like 17, 18 years old at the time when this happened, but they were both in the fishing industry, and one of them was working at a fish plant where the other guy was a fisherman. And Normie as everybody calls him, was the other occupant in a car driving along the old highway number 3 heading toward Shag Harbor when they saw it. The other one was Laurie Wickens, who was the one that actually reported it to the RCMP, got this whole thing started. So he's the linchpin for this whole thing. And he was with, Laurie was with his buddy, and they were coming back from a community function over in Cape Sable Island. It was on Wednesday night.
That's right. Weren't they at a dance or something?
Yeah, it might have been a dance. Laurie recalls it more as maybe being some kind of a talent show. And,
okay.
So, but back in those days, back in '67, there wasn't much going on down around there. It might have had 1 or 2 TV channels, if they had that. And basically, your functions were all social functions set up by the community, the church or the community center.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's it's well away from Halifax. It's about 3.5-hour drive down there, and but Laurie was driving along, and he went through. He was ahead of Norman Smith and Dave Kendrick, who's in the other guy in the car, and headed into Shag Harbor. And through it, they were following the UFO, or trying to, and the thing was traveling on the right-hand side of the car, going southwest, the same as they were, across along the highway. And then at some point, it started to cross over in front of the car and turned down at a steep angle, and disappeared behind the trees. And they just came around the bend just after that, and saw this thing sitting on the water. They pulled off the road, and at this point, they're right alongside of the water, the Atlantic.
Yeah, Ron, you got to stop for a second, because I don't remember in the story at all that it was sitting on the water. I always thought it went into the water.
No, well, it's called the crash at Shag Harbor, but it was more of a landing.
Wow. Okay. So I'm picking up something new I didn't get last time out of this.
Some people reported, that were at the edge of the water, that including the Mounties, one of the Mounties for sure, that they saw like a 50 to 60 foot long dark object, that hence the name of the book, and that was about 60 feet long and maybe 10 to 12 feet thick through the middle, and it was lens shaped, and it was either sitting on the water or hovering over it. And
okay.
But the only light that was on it was a pale yellow light, and some people thought maybe it was part of an airplane. Don't forget, these people reported an airplane crashing into the water.
That's right. I do remember that. Yeah.
On the southwest side of Shag Harbor. And that's, in the meantime, after the fact, after the book came out, years later, other witnesses came through it, including a couple that were on the north side of the northeast side of the Irish moss plant. Everybody was on the other side of the moss plant, 60 feet. The thing's only 40 feet wide. The plant. It was a very little place.
Yeah.
Cinder block. And they were all standing over in the gravel, sitting right on the edge of the water. In the meantime, this other couple had gone around before they even arrived, and were up to they were making out on the other end of the building.
That's a good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah, and there seemed to be a lot of that going on down there at this time, and I remarked on one of the shows that they didn't call this place Shag Harbor for nothing. But back in those days, we didn't, Shag Harbor didn't mean the same, didn't have the same context. It's a British term, for the other thing. But shag is actually the name of the fish. There's fish that swim in the Atlantic called shag.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, so it's kind of confusing, but anyway. These two people came out of the woodwork shortly before one of our conferences, and you're running out of time here, but I'll get this in quickly. And a woman, her name is Eileen. Another fellow reported to me through an intermediary that he had seen this thing land on the water. He was with another woman, but he didn't want to give his name, and he didn't want to give hers because he didn't want to embarrass her, because they weren't married or anything. At the time, they weren't neither one. They were just kids then, but he didn't want to embarrass her. So anyway, I was reporting this piece of information at one of the sessions we had down in the elementary school down there, where the people would come, and listen to us talk. And I mentioned this, and this woman jumps up in the audience and said, "That was me." So anyway, I interviewed her afterwards, and she said, "Yeah, that's exactly what happened, and it scared the hell out of us. It came out and it landed on the water and just sat there, and it was in close to the shore." Then she said, and all of a sudden, this car come tearing down the road and onto the gravel. It's spitting gravel all over the place, and we were stuck there. We were trying to get out. People kept showing up. The Mounties showed up, and we're trying to get out from behind the building. So anyway, finally, when everybody seemed to be occupied with what's going on out in the water, we just sort of backed the car out and got out on the other side and parked with everybody else to watch this thing. But they watched it land on the water and just sit there. And it was lit at the time, and then the lights went out, and this little yellow light came. Yep.
When she said it landed on the water and sat there, was it kind of rocking like a boat, like floating on the top of the water, or was it just...
It just seemed to them as if it was just barely touching the water and just sitting there level. It wasn't doing anything. There was no action anyway at that time. The water was pretty calm, and there was no moon that night, and people had reported a moon, and even though there wasn't one there, it went down at 5:25. This was at 20 after 11 local time, okay?
Wow.
And this would have been 4th of October, still on daylight saving time. But
okay, well, God, you're not going to believe this, but we're out of time. I can't believe it. So everybody, what I want you to do is I want you to go to donledger.com. That's DonLedger.com. Check out his book called Blood Shock, and check out the Shag Harbor UFO.com website. That's another place to go and check Don out. And he's an amazing guest, and we'll have him back on in a while, and maybe more even amazing things will pop into his head. And people will have called him again. So we'll see what happens with Don near in the future. So Don, thank you so much for being here. And everybody, next week we're going to have Mark Schwartz, and we're going to have a whole bunch of people from Truth Funders on. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll see you then here. California MUFON Radio signing off. Good night, everybody.